Chapter 3. Flutter's big bounce the next day in Jollywood. The air was crisp and fresh, with the leaves rustling softly in the gentle breeze. Bumble the Bear woke up with the sun shining warmly through his window and stretched with a big yawn. "Honey for breakfast," he declared to no one in particular, rubbing his belly. "Maybe today will be another adventure." As Bumble made his way out of his cozy den, he spotted Flutter the squirrel darting from tree to tree, her usual ball of energy. She waved her tail wildly at him as she leaped from one branch to another, not even pausing for a breath. "Good morning, Bumble," Flutter squeaked, her bright eyes twinkling. "What are you doing today?" "I don't know yet," Bumble replied thoughtfully. "Maybe Whiskers will have an idea, or Tumble might suggest something wise and slow." Flutter twitched her whiskers and gave an excited little bounce. "I'm feeling extra bouncy today. I just know something fun is going to happen. I can feel it in my tail." Bumble chuckled. "Well, if anyone knows how to have fun, it's you, Flutter." Just as Bumble and Flutter were starting to discuss what they might do, the rest of their friends began to gather. Whiskers the Rabbit hopped out from behind a bush, looking far more relaxed than he had the day before. Tumble the Tortoise arrived, moving at his own slow pace, and Pip the Woodpecker fluttered down to a branch nearby. Lottie the Lamb followed quietly behind, her soft wool gently brushing against the leaves as she walked. An energetic start as usual, Flutter was the most excited among them. She was bouncing so high that her little feet barely touched the ground, and her tail was fluffing up like a cloud. "Why don't we play a game?" Flutter suggested, landing on her feet after a particularly high jump. "Something that involves running and jumping and spinning." Whiskers' ears twitched nervously at the thought of too much movement. "Oh, I don't know about all that jumping. What if we trip or fall? What if the wind knocks us over?" Flutter waved her tail dismissively. "Oh, Whiskers, don't worry. You can just hop if you like, or even walk slowly like Tumble." Tumble nodded his head in agreement. "Walking slowly is quite enjoyable, you know." But Bumble clapped his paws together with enthusiasm. "A game sounds like a great idea. Let's call it Flutter's Big Bounce, and everyone can join in at their own pace." Pip tapped his beak on the tree trunk. "I can fly along and keep score. I'll make sure everyone gets a fair turn." Even Lottie the Lamb, who was usually the quietest of the group, smiled and nodded. "I like the idea of a friendly game," she said softly. "As long as everyone has fun, it will be wonderful." The game begins. They all gathered in a sunny clearing, surrounded by colorful wildflowers and soft grass. Bumble set down a makeshift finish line using sticks and leaves, and Flutter wiggled her feet in the dirt, preparing to give her best jumps. "I'll show you all how high a squirrel can really bounce," Flutter declared with pride. Bumble, who wasn't known for his jumping skills, gave her an encouraging smile. "I'm sure you'll bounce the highest of all, Flutter." "Ready," Pip called out from his perch on a branch.
"Get set.
Go." Flutter shot off like a little rocket, her tail a blur behind her as she bounded across the clearing with big, joyful leaps. She laughed as she jumped, her energy contagious. Bumble waddled after her, not exactly jumping but bouncing a little on his toes, trying his best to keep up. Tumble, as expected, moved slowly and steadily, but he had a happy smile on his face. Lottie gently skipped along, while Whiskers hopped nervously, staying close to the ground but still participating. "Look at me go!" Flutter squealed as she bounced higher and higher. "I feel like I could jump all the way to the moon." But just as Flutter was about to make her highest jump yet, something unexpected happened. She leaped so high that when she landed, her foot slipped on a patch of wet grass. With a startled yelp, Flutter tumbled head over tail and crashed into a pile of leaves. "Flutter!" Whiskers gasped, rushing over. "Are you okay?" Learning to slow down, Flutter sat up, dazed but unhurt. She shook the leaves out of her fur and gave a sheepish grin. "I guess I bounced a little too high," she admitted, rubbing her head. Bumble came over, offering a paw to help her up. "You bounced so high, you almost became a bird," he joked, but there was concern in his voice. "Maybe it's good to slow down sometimes." Flutter looked around at her friends. Whiskers was still trembling slightly, while Tumble had just reached the halfway point of the game, slow and steady as always. Even Lottie had been careful with her steps, skipping gently rather than racing. "I suppose I did get a little carried away," Flutter admitted, brushing off the last of the leaves. "I wanted to jump as high as I could without thinking." Tumble the Tortoise, who had finally caught up, gave her a kind smile.